And I just wanted ayahuasca to just get the depression out of me, to remove it from my body like it was a sick, rotten part of me. And ayahuasca was like, no, this is a part of you. It will always be a part of you. So before it heals, you have to see it. You have to look at it. You have to be with it. You have to accept it. So I accepted the nothingness that I had been feeling, the sadness or the laziness, not caring, the empty, stagnant energy. And as soon as I accepted it, my depression started to lift. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Spiritual Nutrition. I'm your host, Kayla Sirena. And on this podcast, we talk about all things healing and wellness for the mental, physical, emotional, spiritual bodies. Learn how to love your life, love yourself, and while doing so, manifest an even better one. In upcoming topics, I'll also be covering Ayurvedic nutrition, detox protocols, and just learning how to create positive lifestyle changes to help you bring balance to yourself and your life and really balance yourself with nature for optimal healing. So today's topic that I want to talk about is basically freeing trapped energy and emotions, releasing depression, sadness, and numbness and addiction, and how to do that. And first, I want to talk about how do you know if you're depressed and what are the signs and then what to do from there. I just want to share with you what worked for me and hopefully it will help you as well. So first of all, how do you know if you're depressed or if you have deep sadness? Sometimes depression can feel like nothing, or it can feel like deep sadness or heaviness or just lack of interest in things and life. But a lot of times depression manifests just as like nothing. Like you're acting normal, you're going about your life, you're seeing your friends, you're working, you're getting things done, but you just don't really care about things. You don't really have any inspiration for things, and life just seems a little bit boring. So this can be a sign that you have some underlying depression, that lack of interest, that lack of care, but like something's missing a little bit. Maybe you have an addiction as well. This can be very common for people that suffer with chronic depression or sadness for a very long time. And a lot of times people that have depression also have childhood trauma. So usually addictions follow with this as well. It's not always the case. This definitely was something that happened with me. So first of all, just knowing that you have this depression, and if you have some type of addiction, you most likely have depression or anxiety or some unresolved emotions that are waiting for your attention and waiting for healing. So the very first step is to get clean off the drugs, the alcohol, or whatever it is that you're addicted to, whether it's gambling or sex or shopping or social media. It's going to be, it can manifest in many different forms, even food and coffee. If you have an addictive personality or struggle with depression and addictions, you might notice that you will be addicted to many different things. And this can be one of the biggest and hardest steps. And really, this can take a long time. So have patience with yourself. But there's really no way you can fully heal your pain and your suffering, your childhood trauma, unless you're free from these external substances that are altering your mind and covering up the way that you feel, especially and even when you're not on them, they're blocking you from connecting to yourself fully. So for me, I had a lot of childhood trauma and I was addicted to drugs and alcohol for 10 years straight. And I would just use anything I could that would make me feel better or even different. A lot of times I didn't even really feel good. I just felt different. I just did anything really I could to function and get through the day. And at that time, I didn't know why I was doing it. I just knew that my current reality and the way that I felt was so uncomfortable. It was really, really difficult for me. And when I finally decided to get sober, it took a few years. And when I first decided to get sober, I joined an outpatient program And they ended up putting me on different medications to help me get off the drugs I was using, which was another addiction in itself. So I had to kind of wean off of two different drugs at the same time, or multiple drugs in various different times. So it was difficult. There was such a chemical imbalance in my body. And even when you feel free from that physical craving of the addiction, the chemicals in your body will take a while to get out of your system. Like I know birth control, for example, which is a kind of totally different topic, but that can take like maybe 2 years to fully get out of your system and regulate your menstrual cycles and things like that. So I was out of balance for a very long time, and it's difficult. And I just recommend that you definitely have professional support around you while you're doing this, in addition to the people that you are surrounding yourself with. So help yourself heal through this process by finding therapists, finding friends that are positive, maybe friends that you look up to. Maybe you have a lot of friends that are also having issues like you. So they might not be the best people for you to be around, especially if they're going to make you feel like you want to kind of go back into your old ways. So looking to get new friends. And if you don't have any, just hire a therapist if you can, seeking a professional help and support to get you through this. A loved one, a family member, even pets can be so soothing and helpful. There's even group support that you can find online and in person, and also somatic therapy. EFT tapping is really helpful and supportive, and that's something that I offer as well. So that involves somatic therapy, so working with the body and the emotions at the same time, using breath work and other techniques to help you feel in your body, feel safe in the moment, connect to the past, what happened, and help you let it go. So what happens with the drugs and alcohol is that they suppress the feelings that you've been blocking. And then when you stop the addiction, everything comes out full force. So your body holds on to it, even if it's years and years and years later. So that's what we don't realize when we try to avoid our problems, is that our body is still holding on to them, and it all comes rushing out eventually. And just don't be scared. It's like one of my clients asked me, like, but weren't you afraid? Weren't you afraid of all of the pain and the sadness and whatever? And I was just like, no, I wasn't, because I was feeling it so deeply for so long anyway. And, if you hold on to that suffering, it manifests in other forms, especially if you hold on to it for so long. So it can manifest in physical ailments, and that's what we want to avoid. So do you want to feel strongly painful for a shorter period of time, or do you want to suffer kind of mildly but very deeply for a long period of time? So kind of choosing which one you want, and usually choosing the shorter option is better, because then you can really heal yourself deeply, deeply to the root. One of the things that I was processing as well was like sadness, feeling sadness. And that unresolved sadness would manifest in feeling tired, feeling demotivated, because, I wasn't giving myself space to feel the sadness. So my nervous system, my consciousness, whatever, my soul was manifesting sadness and lack of interest to go out, and just feeling tired to feel that sadness. So even though it was helping me feel the emotion, I wasn't consciously feeling it. I wasn't consciously processing it. I wasn't getting to the root of it. And therefore, I wasn't actually healing it. So connecting with that sadness or that emotion that you're releasing, needing to release, talking to it. And this works as well with EFT tapping, IFS therapy, and getting to know that part and what it needs, and working on giving that to yourself. So again, it's super important to have that support, even like body work. If you have somebody giving you body work sessions like massage, somatic body work, just kind of giving that love to yourself during that time, because it's probably going to be hard, but you've already survived the initial trauma, the initial suffering. So you can survive anything. So while you're coming off this addiction, whatever it is that you are using to cover up the pain or the depression, shadow work and inner child work is also really, really, really healing. So it's kind of a combination of these deep feelings that you've blocked from yourself and allowing the space for them to safely come out and be felt. And this can be done again through these EFT tapping sessions and working with a therapist. Also, I just bought a really incredible book. Maybe you've heard about it. It went viral on TikTok. It's called the Shadow Work Journal. So if that's something you're interested in buying to help you with your healing, you can please do that. And then you can have that work by yourself, and you don't need to have a therapist or anything like that. Now, I don't recommend regular therapy because I feel like somatic healing therapies are much more productive and can really help you get to the root of these problems. So, plant medicine actually is another thing that really helped me a lot. And honestly, I'm a little bit hesitant to recommend that these days, especially where I live in Tulum, because there's a lot of ceremonies and things like that that are going on that I don't really trust. Um, they can be helpful, but they can also cause more problems than you need. So if you decide to do the plant medicine route, I just recommend that you really, really, really do your research about who you're working with, who you're sitting with, who they are, where did they come from, where did they study, what is their intention, or even choose somebody that you really, really trust or deeply admire and ask them to help you make this decision. A lot of times when we're healing, our discernment can be off, or maybe we never learned it. So we just choose things that aren't good for us and possibly cause more suffering. What is their intention? What is their biggest reason for doing this? Why is this important to them? Why are they trying to help people? Are they helping people? Are they trying to help people, or are they just trying to make money? What is it? So a lot of people are trying to take advantage of people that are trying to heal, which is very, very unfortunate. And, this happens, and it happened to me for a while. Maybe I'll share about it in the future. Put a comment below if you're interested in hearing more about this. But it happened to me for about a year and took almost 2 years, maybe a little bit more, to heal from. So the first time I did ayahuasca was in 2012, and that was one of my first times that I ever felt anything in terms of my depression, feelings of somewhat aliveness. And until I started to feel this somewhat aliveness, I didn't realize how lost and empty I was. And this process went on for about 10 years of starting to recover my feelings of sensation in my body. And what also happens with childhood trauma, addiction, depression is they're all kind of aligned together, and the heart closes. So the heart closes, and when the heart closes, it's hard to really feel positive, to have hope, to trust, to have energy, to try, to care, and to want to get better, to believe you can get better. So a lot of people, their hearts are closed from this pain that they experienced, and they've protected that child, that inner self, that inner wound, those emotions so deeply, because when that trauma or those traumas occurred, or whatever age this happened, however many traumas there were, you didn't have the support that you needed. You felt alone, you were suffering, and you were really hurting. So the older parts of yourself, this is some IFS talk here, have kind of covered up this pain and blocked it from ever being accessed again. So there's a lot of trust that needs to be healed as well within the self, because in a way you've, and I have done this as well, I've unconsciously abandoned parts of myself, and then other parts of myself have kind of taken over to kind of protect. And there's like an inner self trust that has been lost, as well as an outer self trust that has been lost with the world or people or whatever, is in regards to what happened. So like you can look into IFS therapy as well, interfamily systems, and it talks all about this stuff as well. I have a great recommendation for a therapist. So drop a comment if you're interested. And basically, parts of ourselves, how we've protected and injured ourselves, basically, you're going to need to learn how to reparent yourself. And there's other ways that you can do this as well. And it's really the only way that you're going to have access to that traumatized part of yourself, to gain that trust from yourself and to give that part a chance to be heard that was really hurt. So it's like healing trust within yourself and within the world, because you don't trust like anything at this point. And that's why the heart is closed. And that's why like nothing really matters, because you just feel like, what does it matter? Like nothing worked. Nothing was there. Nobody was there. Like, you know? So there's many heart opening practices that you can do. Again, somatic therapy, EFT tapping, breath work, trauma informed yoga, this shadow work journal that I shared with you. Also, ayahuasca and mushrooms have been helpful for me. Again, if you go down that route, it's not a once all fix all. So you're going to have to do the other harder stuff as well, like really looking at yourself. And so for me, ayahuasca was one of the biggest healers and helpers in the beginning. It kind of helped crack me open. And then from there, I continued all that work by myself. But it's not just like a fixed healer. It's not like you're going to take one ayahuasca ceremony and be healed. All this trauma, all this suffering, all this sadness and work that you need to get through, it's going to take time. So you have to commit yourself to the healing. And also, what happens with these plant medicines is you basically access this healing. You open your heart through the medicine. You feel all that's possible, this trust, this love, this healing, this safety, powerful, like energy, like creation. You feel so good. And you feel it within your being as if you are it, because you are it in that moment and you have access to that. But when you come back to your daily life, when you go back to your diet, your normal way of eating, even if you follow a vegan diet, you can hold on to that feeling for a while, but eventually you do resume back to your normal patterns. And once you go back onto your normal diet and what you're eating and go back to your human self, you go right back into your patterns. And integration here is so, so important, because when the heart opens, you receive all these messages, you feel all of this, and you want to remember that so that you can tune back into that when you go back into your patterns. So that's the work. That's the work. You don't just take the medicine, do the heart opening practice, and you're just healed forever. You're shown a glimpse of what it is, and you feel it within your body. So you believe that it's real, but you have to learn how to go back to it. So most likely, if your heart has been very, very closed for a long time, your heart might close back up to normal, because that's how you've felt safe before. Maybe this is just your normal way of being. So you'll go right back into all of your trauma wounds, your way of acting and things like that. So this is always why integration is so, so important. So we have this heart opening experience. You have to write things down, even record yourself speaking to yourself. You have to follow that inspiration and make a plan for yourself. And then when you start to go back into your normal life, you have to find that trust of yourself within yourself to follow that guidance from your previous self. Like one example is one ayahuasca ceremony I had. I'm just going to share a little personal story here. It was so, so beautiful. I literally saw my birth, my heart opened. It was just like a well of infinite healing, and it was like multicolored, and there was just love pouring out of my heart. I have chills right now talking about it. And I saw my birth, and I saw the doctors give me to my mom and my dad, and I saw how much I was loved, and I just was like crying with so much joy. I never felt so much before. And I felt this beautiful healing connection and self-love for at least the whole day. And I remember I recorded myself talking to myself, made a video of myself, just telling myself how special I was, how incredible I was, how much I loved myself, and blah, 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 blah. And it was completely authentic and real. So yeah, like in that moment when I saw the doctors give myself to my mom and my dad, it simultaneously healed every memory that I had of not being loved, of being left, of being rejected, of being alone. And I felt so much suffering of that of those feelings as a child, but they weren't really true. They were misunderstandings of my perception of reality. I had a limited perception as a child. And, even though some of the actions were real, like me being alone and me feeling sad, it wasn't because I wasn't loved or special or important or wanted, because I was and I am. And so are you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So you're going to receive all this support, all this guidance for everything that you want and need, and try to work with this energy while you're in it. Ask how you can support yourself when you go back to your suffering, when you go back to your patterns, what you can do to heal from this completely. Also, hypnosis is really powerful and helpful. I offer a wonderful, like a dual session meditation. It's basically an EFT tapping session where we get to the root of your limiting beliefs. And then I create a customized hypnosis meditation that's going to help you reprogram all of those limiting beliefs. You listen to it every day for at least 30 days, and you can start to work to manifest everything that you're looking for to create in your life, heal your wounds, like manifest a relationship and work and love and just feel happiness. And also, it's really important as well, if you have depression or struggling with addiction, that you find a sense of higher power, find a sense of divinity in God and creation, whoever it is that you want to believe in. It doesn't even have to be like an entity or a being, like God. It can be a person, it can be an energy, it can be a purpose, your family, it can be your work, it can be the energy of love, it can be nature, it can be the universe, the stars. And pray. Find something outside of yourself to ask for guidance, to ask for support, to speak to, because this is also the missing link for depression, is that you feel alone in your experience, and that nobody cares about you, and you're lost, and there's no hope. You've lost hope, you've lost faith, you've lost trust and belief. And those are the biggest medicines for healing depression. They're the biggest medicines of the heart, and the heart will heal your suffering. And this is how you become vulnerable to more toxic situations, because your vibration, that energy of being lost, alone, unloved, etc., just know that you are loved. And even if you don't feel it, you are deeply loved, and you are important and special and unique. So finding these moments where your heart is open, and it doesn't have to be like plant medicine. You don't have to do plant medicine 3 times a week to have your heart open to feel healed. You can find moments. You can also start to create lists of the things that are helping you, and write them down. And because you're going to forget when you feel bad. You're not going to remember or want to remember to do this thing. You're really going to have to motivate yourself and push yourself to do these things. But when you do them, you're going to feel much better. So you can start to create a list of all the things that make you feel good, make you feel excited, make you feel inspired, and start to very slowly implement them into your routine. So try to do it in ways that force you to not fail. So scheduling a weekly workout with a friend, teaching yoga, which has helped me so much with my practice, because I teach yoga a few times a week. And, that forces me to do my practice, and I give and I receive at the same time. And it's been incredibly helpful for me. Finding a side hustle or a hobby that you have to do each week that forces you to step into that future self, who you want to be, who you're desiring to be. And if you don't know what it is, that's fine. Just keep that in your mind and start to create that. And the next time you come across something that makes you feel good, maybe you watch a comedy movie or just start laughing or something, you're like, oh, yeah, I like that. Write it down, and on your list, right? I like comedies. I like to laugh. I like dressing up. I like wearing crystal jewelry. I like walking in nature. I like watching the sunrise, cooking, dancing, whatever it is. So you write this down on your list, and this is going to be the things that are going to be your activations for healing, to tune into what makes you feel alive, excited, and playful, because this is the healing of the inner child. And all of our emotions are the inner child, the inner children. And we can tap into that magical emotions of play and curiosity, pleasure, excitement, and peace. And the heart starts to open here, and everything will start to flow to you. Everything that will make you feel even better starts to flow and give you these good feelings even more, because they were the first feelings we ever felt. So every feeling that we feel originates from when we were first born as children, when we were first having our first feelings and memories and experiences. So allowing yourself to feel happy, safe, loved, joyful, curious, like a child, it's healing for the child. It allows the child to come out from its hiding. and to be itself and be that kid and, the kid they maybe never got to be. And so this is what I have for you. I think also one of the most important lessons that ayahuasca ever taught me as well, which was maybe like 6, 8 years down the line of doing ayahuasca. I'd probably done 12 ceremonies at that point or something in my life. And then I did 8 more with another group that I found in upstate New York that I really connected with. And because I was really committed to my healing and I was really enjoying this group and I felt super safe with them. And I did 3 days in a row with them. And I felt nothing all 3 ceremonies. I felt nothing. And I was just so upset. And this was before my depression had fully healed. Like I said, this was like a 10-year journey of working with plant medicines. Again, it's like I was still using drugs on and off at this point, and this is why I highly suggest stepping away from the drugs fully and then moving for the next steps. Otherwise, it's going to take 10 years like it took for me. So my depression hadn't fully healed, and I just felt so abandoned. I felt so forgotten by ayahuasca, and it's such a true reflection because when you're depressed, you feel forgotten, you feel abandoned by everybody. And this was my experience when I was a child, and you feel that life doesn't care about you. Nobody notices you. You don't exist. You don't even exist to yourself because you don't even feel connected to yourself. You don't even listen to your sadness. I wasn't listening to my sadness and I didn't know how. And, we have to forgive ourselves for not knowing how. We didn't learn this, and now's your opportunity to learn how. So ayahuasca was reflecting back to me what I felt and what I was. And I remember talking to the shaman at the end of the ceremony. We had a sharing circle, and I just was like, I was so upset. I didn't even want to share. Everybody was having these beautiful healing experiences and inspiration and heart opening. And I just felt so mad and bitter and irritated. And she didn't even know what to say either. And, it was like a week later, the integration started to set in. I actually planned to do another 3 days with them the following week. And she told me that there was no space. So I left feeling alone, feeling like there was no hope. And I just was left with myself. And through that week, it started to integrate the lessons. I just was sitting with that feeling, and I realized that I needed to feel my suffering. And I needed to feel my suffering. And I was saying, when you're depressed, your heart is closed. So it's like a stone block. It's like, not that ayahuasca couldn't get in there and heal me or help me heal, because ayahuasca is going to help you heal yourself. It's not going to heal you. She wanted to teach me that I had to accept my depression in order to release it. And I had to accept it, and I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want to accept my depression. I mean, who wants to accept their negative feelings? It's something that you can easily do with tapping to neutralize the emotions, because when you reject, you create even more resistance. And acceptance is so high frequency, is so healing, and it's a form of love. It's a form of self-love. If you're accepting something within yourself, self-love, if you're accepting something within somebody else, you're sending them love. And I just wanted ayahuasca to just get the depression out of me, to remove it from my body like it was a sick, rotten part of me. And ayahuasca was like, no, this is a part of you. It will always be a part of you. So before it heals, you have to see it. You have to look at it. You have to be with it. You have to accept it. So I accepted the nothingness that I had been feeling, the sadness or the laziness, not caring, the empty, stagnant energy. And as soon as I accepted it, my depression started to lift. And what ended up happening as well was, right as I kind of felt this realization, what do you know, the ceremony, the ayahuasca group contacted me, and they said that there were 3 available spots so I could join that weekend. So I ended up going back and already having this beautiful realization. I felt so happy and so clear, and it was just beautiful. So I ended up having to have another ceremony with them. But I'd already received what I was looking for and so desperately trying to get rid of. And, you know, so I just want to share, how hard it can be. And I understand how you feel. And I understand that you want these feelings to just go away. And you should really get support and safety around this while you are feeling this sadness, this fear. And, it's already in you. So, what's the difference if you feel a little bit stronger and release it? And, the last thing that I want to say about addiction, maybe this will help you heal as well, is that part of you that you're giving the drugs or the alcohol or the addictive habits to block the feelings, that's your inner child. That's your 5-year-old self, or 3-year-old self, 7-year-old self, whatever your youngest age was where you experienced that trauma. That's the part of you that you're giving these substances to. So learn how to connect with your inner child. Pull up a photo of yourself as a baby, maybe put it on your phone screen as the background so you can see it, and really choose one that really makes your heart feel connected, or connect with a baby or a child that you know, or an animal that you love so much, and talk to yourself like you would talk to them. And do you really want to remove them? Would you really want to remove them from your life if they felt the way that you felt? Would you really want to give them drugs, or give them food, or hurt them in some way that you're doing to yourself with these addictions? So give that love to yourself and accept yourself as you are. This is part of your journey. And the moment you accept yourself, the moment you're going to be able to heal. And it's like, can I live with myself if I'm like this for the rest of my life? Even if you really don't want to, just take a moment and try to accept it. Just try to be like, okay, I accept myself like this. If I'm like this for the rest of my life, I will love myself. I will accept myself, and I forgive myself. And also just let yourself be a little dramatic about things. Let yourself feel upset, let yourself get really emotional, and let yourself feel the sadness, the anger, the frustration. You're allowed to feel this. And maybe you didn't get a chance to cry, maybe you didn't get a chance to be supported or held. So access that part of you that wants to be seen and heard and acknowledged, and let those emotions flow. So that's all that I have for today. If you're interested in booking a session with me, you can do so on my website using the link. I offer somatic release therapy, EFT tapping, custom hypnosis meditation, and also there's 3 spots available for the feminine embodiment mentorship. You can fill out an application also on my website for the Life That You Love mentorship. This is everything from Ayurvedic nutrition, somatic healing, trauma release, manifestation, hypnosis, meditation. And thank you all so much for listening. And as always, if you have topics you want me to cover, you can comment or send me a message on my Instagram or YouTube channel at Kayla Sirena, KaylaSirena. Please like and subscribe and share this with anyone if you enjoyed it. And so that way, at least more people can benefit and expand the reach. Have an amazing day, and I will see you next time.